In the blink of a year, the world was engulfed in flames. Cities crumbled, families were torn apart, and the air itself seemed to carry the weight of death. From the ashes of despair rose the deadliest conflict in human history, World War II. Between 1939 and 1945, more than 70 million lives were extinguished, soldiers and civilians alike leaving scars that still haunt our collective memory. This is not just a story of battles and borders, but of humanity tested to its limits. The roots of World War II were buried in the unresolved tensions of the First World War. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, left Germany humiliated and economically crippled, while many nations struggled to recover from the devastation and death that war had left behind. In this climate of resentment and instability, extremist ideologies found fertile ground. Germany, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler and the National Socialist Party, sought to overturn the Versailles Treaty, reclaim lost territory, and expand its influence across Europe. Meanwhile, Italy, led by Benito Mussolini, dreamed of a new Roman Empire, and Japan, hungry for resources, sought dominance in East Asia. Across the globe, economic depression and nationalism stoked tensions that would ignite into total war. The failure of the League of Nations to enforce peace, combined with policies of appeasement, allowed these aggressors to test the limits of the international order. When Germany invaded Poland on September 1, 1939, Britain and France declared war. The world had crossed a point of no return. The war spread with unprecedented speed and scale. In 1940, the German Blitzkrieg lightning war swept through Western Europe, toppling Norway, Denmark, Belgium, the Netherlands, and France within months. The skies over Britain burned as the Luftwaffe unleashed relentless bombing campaigns, yet the island nation refused to surrender. In the East, Operation Barbarossa, launched in June 1941, saw Germany invade the Soviet Union, triggering some of the most brutal fighting in history. Cities were razed, winters were merciless, and millions perished in a war of annihilation. Across the oceans, Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, brought the United States into the conflict. The war became truly global, stretching from the deserts of North Africa to the jungles of Southeast Asia. The tide began to turn with pivotal battles. At Stalingrad, Soviet forces encircled and defeated the German Sixth Army, marking the beginning of a relentless push westward. In North Africa, Allied victories at El Alamein paved the way for the liberation of the Mediterranean. Meanwhile, the D-Day invasion of Normandy in June 1940 symbolized the dawn of liberation for Western Europe. In the Pacific, the Battle of Midway shifted momentum in favor of the Allies. Island by island, Allied forces advanced, culminating in the dropping of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. Faced with unimaginable destruction, Japan surrendered, bringing the war to an end. World War II exacted a toll unlike any other. Soldiers fell on battlefields across continents, but civilians bore an equally horrific burden. Entire cities, Warsaw, Dresden, Tokyo, were reduced to rubble. Famine, disease, and displacement left millions suffering. The Holocaust revealed the depths of human cruelty, as 6 million Jews, along with millions of others deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime, were systematically murdered. Concentration camps, forced labor, and mass executions left a stain on humanity that cannot be erased. By the war's end, the world had lost between 70 and 85 million lives. Economies were shattered, political landscapes were redrawn, and empires fell. The war also accelerated technological and scientific developments, from rocketry to nuclear energy, forever changing the course of human history. World War II was more than a clash of armies. It was a clash of ideologies, a crucible that tested the very essence of humanity. It exposed the capacity for both unimaginable cruelty and extraordinary courage. Ordinary people resisted tyranny, saved lives, and endured hardships beyond comprehension. The lessons of this global conflict are etched into history. Unchecked aggression, hatred, and intolerance can plunge the world into unimaginable darkness. And yet, from this darkness emerged a renewed commitment to peace, to international cooperation, and to the idea that no nation or people should suffer alone. As we look back on 1939 to 1945, the images of burning cities, marching soldiers, and grieving families remind us that the cost of war is never just numbers, it is human lives, dreams, and futures cut short. Remembering World War II is not merely an exercise in history. It is a solemn promise to honor the fallen by striving for a world where such horrors never repeat. The war ended, but the echoes remain. In every memorial, in every story, in every survivor's memory, we are reminded of the fragility of peace and the resilience of the human spirit.